These are independent decisions. These are individual decisions. Nobody has a decision of your own. You can't tell yourself that because you have worked from 12 noon till 6 p.m., now you cannot spend time with your father because you're tired. That's your individual choice. The choices that you make right now and then are going to develop your future. Right. They are going to come out as a result in the near future.
And a lot of what you do is based on trust.
Yes.
And especially, Furqan, I'd like to ask you that here's a person who's perhaps consulting for some of the most affluent families in the Middle East and in Pakistan, telling them what to do with their fortunes, not just today, but for years to come. So he has to be a very trustworthy guy. How do you think he wins that trust? You've known him forever, and I'm sure as a friend you trust him. What is that quality about him that allows people to trust him so easily?
He's a target achiever, number one. He has the background that he belongs to. People who meet him today, usually what people do, they follow your backgrounds and they follow your past, your achievements. That's how the trust gets built. That's how it's built. Since I've known him for years, I don't have to look into what he's doing today. But for people who meet him today, they might be meeting him for the first time, they usually would look into his past, how good a successful person he's been, and the achievements that he's done, and he's actually been logical at most of the places, and that's what makes him successful. Right. And that's what builds trust, his past achievements. And he's an achiever, he's a target achiever. I've known him for years. What he says, he does.
Thank you so much, Furqan. I would like to add here, Furqan has rightly said that when we grow up with somebody, that person becomes a trustworthy person with us, right? But when I go and meet with a new family, right, and they don't know me, they know me from somebody, somebody has referred me, what happens is they do a Google search, or they go on social media and they find out dirty laundry, right? Or they don't find out anything. So my suggestion to you when I talk to people is that you invest in your public image, how you appear when somebody writes your name, how you and you're not an institution right now, you're just a person, Abbas Hashmi. How do you appear when people say things like Abbas Hashmi investment? Try out different things, right? And then start building on those things, like
the keywords, the kind of introductions that you would like
you to be known.
You know, you're absolutely right. One of the best advice that we can give to young graduates is invest in your resumes, invest in your portfolios.
Online presence.
We do such a bad job at sometimes making one resume, and when we are job hunting, we tend to drop it all over the world.
That is a very good one. That's a very good one. Be responsive and reactive, but at the same time be proactive. Find out. As I was growing up, I realized that the best way to get a job or an interview is to really read what is in the job description and then adapt your CV accordingly. Because most of the time in today's day and age, all these job hunts or job application search are managed by systems, not by people. So they screen your resume under a system and say, oh fine, he does investment, but he hasn't written anything, so maybe he's a great stalwart in investment banking, but because he hasn't written that keyword that was in the job description, his resume is not on the short list. Right. So things like that. Continue to invest in yourself, continue to invest in your online presence, and please understand whatever you do online stays online.
It's like the footprint will follow you no matter where you go, and it applies not just to your job hunt but also your personal life. A lot of times when people now propose to someone, they also run through your Orkut and your Facebook accounts and your LinkedIn. So be very, very careful what you have out there. On that note, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. And welcome back after the break. You're watching Spotlight. I'm Sidra Iqbal, and we're still in conversation with Abbas Hashmi and his friend Furqan Siddiqui. We're talking about a number of things and of course their own achievements. Abbas, you seem like such a positive, energetic person. Please tell me, how did you deal with, challenges or failures in your life? I'm sure that there have been some that completely took you off guard, and it was like life curveball for you. What would your advice be for people in dealing with it?
Well, a friend of mine, when I was at my first job, told me one thing. He said, don't respond, don't react, right? And I said, what? Like, why is he saying that? Like, I have to take a decision right now, right then. But then you realize, as the time passes, you don't have to react and respond right away. Take some time out, right? Think through it. Some person has said something about you. Somebody has done something to you. Take a time off, then evaluate the situation, and then understand if you need help from somebody to assess that, or
don't be hasty.
Don't be hasty in responding back to things. Like, you don't have to respond back to a nasty text message right now. You don't have to respond back to an email if you don't like it. Think about it, right? Don't get pushed into decisions.
What would your comments be about respect? Because a lot of times when I speak to young people who have great ideas, but perhaps don't have the kind of family wealth to act upon their instinct or to put their ideas in motion, they sometimes look at these family-owned businesses and some of the initiatives, good initiatives, great initiatives, and say, "Inke liye kya masla tha?" It wasn't hard for these guys. Of course, they had like pot of wealth and they could invest wherever. So, what would you say, garners that respect from your team, from your fellow co-workers, from everyone? Is it difficult?
That's a very good question. The grass is greener on the other side, and everybody thinks that because somebody drives a certain car or has a certain business, will have a pot of money somewhere that he will give to the first person who will ask for it, right? So I suggest that first try to understand what their expectations are. People invest in people, number one. Okay? The day when I stopped selling things to people, the day I realized that I'm more successful. Okay? So try to sell yourself. Try to sell a value package of you to people, and part of that is understanding the other person, what he really wants from you, or what his aspirations are. So try to understand the family structure, try to understand the family business, try to understand the person behind the wheels who's running the show.
One of the favorite models that I have about life, be it your personal life, be it your professional life, be it be a company that you may have started, it's about learning, then loving, and of course leading, because once you've learned and you've loved the game, you will come into a position where you can lead it. But eventually, you've got to leave it behind. There's a legacy that you leave back. Do you think businesses in Pakistan prepare for it, in every regard? I mean, the kind of CSR, are they good corporate citizens? A lot of times, one of the problems, because I know of organizations who are trying to set up, mutual funds in Pakistan, private equity in Pakistan, and they feel that this business is a little murky because there's double bookkeeping a lot of times. People don't want to divulge too much information about their businesses. How do you get them to take risks, perhaps?
Sure. Also, it's a mid-term and a very long-term approach to managing your goodwill in this market. What is happening now in Pakistani culture or anywhere else? You work for an organization, and there is a work pressure and lack of respect or whatever, right? And you leave the job or you find another opportunity, and then you lose contact from that organization, but that contact name or that organization name stays on your resume, on your LinkedIn and other places, right? So you're still representing that organization, right? Now, what is happening in the developed world, and what I teach and what I've done with the company recently, is that I treat people who, and that is true for me as well, when they leave the job, that doesn't mean they hate you or you have to hate them, right? You enable that transition, make sure that their dues are paid, make sure once they go, you stay connected with them, and more like an institution where you have alumni and other aspects as well. Believe me, there are companies in US where you have a boomerang effect. So you get employees coming back again to your organization at a later time of their life with more experience and respect for your organization. This way, you don't have to teach them organizational culture. You don't have to tell them what is good and what is bad in this company. And at the same time, that is your free PR tool. Because everywhere they go, they'll say, oh, that organization is great. They send me e-cards. They send me this gift basket on the first baby that I had, and I posted on my Facebook, and my boss was a was a connection to me, and he made sure that HR sent a nice note. It doesn't cost too much. I don't know how much does it cost to send a postcard to someone, but do these things. These people will remember.
And you get a spokesperson or an ambassador for an organization, even when you're not, paying them a salary.
Absolutely.
That's the best part of it.
It should be followed.
Furkan, what would you say? There's another connect I see in both your resumes. You, of course,